Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
I'm back at you in Gloves Off, and today I have a great guest, great friend, long lost brother. He's a coach of Muay Thai. To me, he's one of the pioneers of Muay Thai here. One of them. Our stories are kind of similar. He went east and I went west, So, and I actually went east while he went west to get to the east, But anyway, it goes in there. We had a great fun time this weekend, getting back to camaraderie and everything else. And his name's Jason Webster. He's right here, and some of you all know him. Some of you may have heard of him. A great Thai boxer and a great trainer. He's trained a lot of people. He's basically planted the seed of Thai boxing in Texas and took it that way. And it's a lot of accomplishments that he's done. But today we want to talk about fighting and those that want to fight and what it takes. How we doing, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me, Paul.
No, well, thanks for you being here. That's just the way it is. And how's everything else? How's the main question, as people always say, is I want to learn how to fight. Can you teach me how to fight? And then you hear that all the time. How can you tell somebody the seriousness of this in a short period of time?
Just their willingness to do stuff they don't want to do. I mean, that's because that is what fighting is, right? As I shared yesterday. I mean, it's kind of odd that people have this idea in their mind what fighting is, and usually isn't that. Like I said, people get all bent out of shape because, oh, I flinch too much. Or of course, those are natural reactions. What you want is an unnatural reaction. You want to not flinch when somebody punches or kicks at you. That's not a natural reaction. You flinch to protect yourself. It's a natural reaction. It's inbuilt. It's God-given, whatever you want to say. And the whole thing about fighting is to create a set of responses in a way of being that is not natural, that is trained, that is, that helps you towards a goal. And when you think about that, you think about it in those real simplistic terms, like that's the coach or mentor or teacher or whatever, that's what they're trying to get you towards, is this goal that you really you can't fully see, you can't fully know, and the coach can't even really fully know until you get there. But that's how you find a good coach, is who you learn to trust the vision of that coach. Because it gets results usually. But to be honest, it normally doesn't get results because the fighter isn't willing to go there, or the fighter hasn't executed. And I'm sorry, a lot of fighters don't like that. But the sooner you indoctrinate someone on that, it's like, look, the wonderful thing about fighting, the really great thing, is its sort of ability and sort of scaffolding for a better you, right? Like you invest yourself in this and you come out a better person in some way, right? Because if you're in it for the millions of dollars, you're in the wrong place. It's astronomical to even earn a living in fighting, right? I'm saying the odds against you are astronomically bad, right? And so you have to figure out a different way. I've never met a professional fighter that isn't, the series where probably the most professional fighter I ever worked was probably Tim Kennedy, who was, you talk about a professional, right? Green Beret sniper, very professional at being a sniper, very professional at being a special forces operator, like all that whole thing. But even, it's the whole fighting thing, of course, was a means to an end. It was, hey, it's a path that only goes from here to here. And you've got to kind of realize that going in, But on the flip side, what it does give you is gives you, most of us anyway, an ability to experience something that few others will ever experience. It's really sort of life-changing, and it's not like you have to have a super career. We've, like Ambush Muay Thai is, my student's creation out in Wells. He's a brilliant trainer. But that's where I spend most of my time in Austin when I'm training Muay Thai is with those students, and won quite a few, mostly amateur titles. Haven't produced a lot of professional fighters out of there at this point. But training those guys to fight. Plenty of them only fight one time, or maybe only 2 times. But what they get out of that is enormous. I'm saying even in their practice of that martial art, like it deepens their appreciation for what's really happening.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely correct. And I've met some world champions, and I've trained with some, and I sparred with some, and some of them have become brothers, and both in Savate and others in boxing here. Here in Laredo, we were blessed to have 2 brothers that were world champions, both Orlando Canizales and Gabby Canizales, and I'm a lot closer to Orlando than I am to Gabby. We're friends, he works over at a Parks and Rec. But, you're correct. I know a lot of pro boxers that have gone in. I know a hell of a lot of amateur boxers. But it's only one period of time that you're only there. It's
Absolutely.
It's a short period of time that you're going to be doing it, and you better understand that it's a young man's sport. It's a lonely man's sport.
Yeah.
And
the world is a young man's, or a young person's. You don't realize that until you get a little bit older, right?
And then you have to absolutely. And then you have to realize that when you're doing stuff like that, you have to, how can I say, save your money. But a lot of these young kids are not business savvy, and all of a sudden they swindled it, or they squandered the money in odd things and ends. And for you to have, I agree with everything that you said. When you're out there teaching, and this has now become a vocation of mine, especially right after the pandemic, this actually became a vocation. And we did this as a side, and I've always had the school. You've known that. I've always taught since '88, since we know each other. And the problem that I see with the pugilistic arts is there's a lot of people that want to do it, but their heart's not there. And when they come out, they want to train, they want to become champions, but they don't have that dedication to say, you know what, we're going to go forward with that extra 100% that you need. Something always flinches. You've heard all the excuses, we've heard all the excuses, and sometimes they think that, okay, we trained for this fight, I'm just not going to show up for the weigh-ins because my girlfriend said no, and the coach is going to be okay with it. The professor's going to be all right, and the trainer's going to be all right. And when you show up the next time to the gym, and they give you that lame excuse, you basically tell them, you know what, here's a door, continue going on and forward. And people think that you'll become an asshole because of that. Right. But I'm sorry, but people give their passion, their heart, and their soul, and all of a sudden it becomes something of that nature. But it's interesting because people do not understand the value of it, if you want to put it that way.
What do you mean? Of the coaching?
Of the coaching that it's given.
Oh yeah, for sure. But in a sense, like that's very dismaying. And of course, as a coach, you really can't deal with that with a fight. Like when they're like that, I have had fighters I work with. I'm saying top level fighters, like top 5 in Bellator and things like that, and they just don't want to do what coach says, and that's fine with me. They find a new coach and go. I don't really care, because the truth is, I think what's understood, like unless your name ends with Mayweather, you're not going, especially as a coach, right? You're not going to earn enough money. It's
You're absolutely correct.
And not just that, but I guess what people don't realize also, like, what it, the commitment, like,
What it entitles.
like I enjoyed working with Tim. I mean, that was actually like a treat in my career, in that I got paid more, worked less than I had on anything. Got to meet all the big UFC stars. Got to do all, which is cool. It's a gas. It's a head trip. It's fun. But don't be fooled. It's it's work, right? Like I tell people, the thing that I learned in Thailand that helped me in every stage the rest of my life, that helped me be who I am, grow, set the stage for different sort of emotional and spiritual growth, that was, probably in the middle of my first year, towards the first year. People don't know I spent there, 2 full years in Thailand, and I'll be honest, a lot of it was a little bit miserable, because it was.
Continue.
Yeah, I mean, mostly, it's because I was really homesick. Everybody, back then, there's no, when I lived in Thailand, there's no English signage and all sorts of, so, all the television, all the radio, was in Thai. So it's like being, it's like Planet of the Apes or something. You get out there and suddenly you realize that you're cut off, really, in a way, cut off from everything And, I just remember trying, praying every day, help me stay with this, because, and I finally realized that, and here I was living my dream. This is what I dreamed of for years, planned for, executed, and I get in the middle of all of it, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, but you're doing exactly what you dreamed as your dream, and they've got to realize that's what fighting's good, absolutely, every endeavor almost that's worth a while is going to have those type of periods.
Same thing. When I went through the same thing as you did. So I'm talking to you, I'm reminiscing with what I went through. I mean, I remember one time I walked Paris up and down. There was no cars. You had to walk, and we come from a society that we don't walk. We drive everywhere we go.
And drive to the mailbox.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I remember one time, and all you did was you woke up at 5 in the morning, because at 6:30 you had to be training, and then the next class was at 8:30, and then all of a sudden then you had an anatomy class, or what class that you had, because I was over there as full scholarship. Then you had to walk it and get on the train and go out to Vincennes to go to INSEP, which was a national training center for the French team. Train with them till 3 o'clock. Get back out, run over in the station. This happened every day. I remember the first 3 months, 4 months, I had blisters upon blisters. Every time I took off my socks, my feet were bleeding, People say, it was the shoes. No, it's the walking that you're doing up and down all over the place and being on your toes all day long. That's all you did. And I remember one, a friend of mine that, she was part of the Salat team. She remember when I removed we're all changing, and I removed my shoes, and my socks were bleeding. She goes, well, what happened? And I remember Richard Sela tell me, he was our trainer, and he goes, hey, let's go see the doctor. Yeah, they were raw, the blisters upon blisters, and until finally they just calloused up, and that's it. You have to go through that.
Yeah.
You tell some of these guys that live down the block, they just live in the same neighborhood. Here's class at this time. Oh, I can't make it because, it's too far. You live 4 blocks away, you know what I'm saying? It's, you have to give that extra if you want to fight, if you want to be good at it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the thing, you say, what does it take? And, after, sorry.
That's all right. It's you. Augie, I'm going to let him. Go ahead, continue.
After training, I've trained fighters now about 30 years. It's not all I've done, right? So it's not like I've had a pipeline of fighters for 30 years or something similar. But in all that time, I have learned a lot. And I believe that, as I shared yesterday, discussed yesterday that if you ask me, if anyone is ever to ask me, current or former fighter, somebody, aspiring fighter, whatever it is, I tell them the same thing every time, that it's, if you want to be successful, the main thing is loyalty. Because loyalty, you've got, and when I say loyalty, I mean not just to a person, but can be to a community. Ambush, Muay Thai is very much that way. Fight teams are always fight team, right? And, you got multiple people fight because you need that support and encouragement when you're down. You need somebody to be able to see be able to see something, when. Where you're going, shit. Like if you're depending on yourself, you're in trouble. Because I did that. I mean, that's actually one reason really my career didn't really go anywhere. But at that time there wasn't a fight culture when I returned. I tried to get a fight. As a matter of fact, I was training for a fight against a top 10 fighter when I got injured. I injured my wrist. I had really choice, like have surgery or either way. Wasn't going to make it to that fight. I was going to make the fight, but I just turned my attention to basically to training others and stuff rather than fighting myself. Studying. I would probably the main thing was there. I even in a short period of time coming to that realizing that fight. Fighting. I was offered to fight a top 10 fighter in New Mexico in Albuquerque, and I was going to be paid maybe $200 a round. And at that particular time, I was staring down some pretty ugly debt after living in Thailand 2 years, had no education, had no savings, had parents divorced, it was just discombobulating, and I was, I felt that pressure. He was like, man, you gotta earn a damn living, you're 26 years old or whatever, you gotta get something going. But over time I realized, the pedigree of what it takes to become a fighter and how that works. But basically, when I say, loyalty, I'm also saying, you've got to be with a group that's going to help buoy you during those tough times, and set you on the right path. And when you can't see things, they can see the things in you, in your career, and believe in you. I mean, those things are very, very important. But I use the term loyalty because on the flip side, you always have a bunch of what is commonly, generally, it's a mean term, but it's, the term psychophant, which hangers on, people, and they bleed you, right? They kind of, and fighters have, top level fighters do learn to manage that, because you can't be a top level fighter without managing it, right? You'll destroy yourself, and it's happened to plenty of Johnny Tapia, it goes down the
line. That's why they say no women before boxing, because of that reason.
Exactly.
You're out there socializing, have a drink, this and that. You're going out there every night. Guess what?
You gotta be focused.
Once a fight comes in, you have to go in there. That what I learned from the time that I spent within Savat, and you have to live it. You live Thai boxing. I live Savat and Savat Book Francais. And when you live that lifestyle, what I learned from the professors, everything has to be planned. You have to have a plan. You have to have dedication and a plan.
Yeah.
And that's helped me out throughout life. Within the school, within the business, within negotiation, you have to learn how to negotiate with somebody. You learn how to negotiate. People say, "No, what do you mean about that?" Of course you do. I mean, you're in your mind, you're thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead of the other one if you're going to win, if you're going to be any good. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And in fighting, it's the same way. You're just not going to go out there and start throwing.
Yeah.
You have to be calm, collective, and move in.
Yeah, if I could take your analogy, which I agree with absolutely. Also, again, loyalty, part of the team.
Sure.
Because when that plan, the the fighter isn't supposed to plan. The fighter is supposed to execute.
Sure.
Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need two chiefs, right? There needs to be one chief.
That's it.
Right? But it's just become like being a parent. Like most of us of more than 2 decades, right? Like we get to be in our 20s, definitely 30s, but definitely when we have kids, I think is the real where the scales come off. You know, you realize, oh shit, man, I had it so good as a kid, man. My parents, you get a real appreciation for your parents, like
Yeah, sure.
as a parent. Not necessarily, you know, with age it helps, but you know, being a parent is the real one that opens your eyes to, man, this is hard work, and man, I don't know shit compared to my parents, like how to raise a kid, to, you know, compared to my parents. I don't know anything, right? I'm a new parent. And, you know, by the same token, you know, you fighter, to tie these two stories, what you said and I said, to end together, that's part of the thing, is like, you have a fighter on a path, and other people are seeing them at the point in time on that path, but the coach, the mentor, the teacher sees the much longer. They may not see the end point because they have to wait until the fighter matures a bit to make certain decisions on how to train. When I trained Tim, I trained him like a number of things. We would start a training cycle for a fight, you know, and everyone, we knew the fighter. Of course, it wasn't like, yeah, I'm fighting in a couple of weeks, but you know, it was always a top level fighter, you know, whether it was Strikeforce or the UFC. Sure. And you know, you have a plan for that fighter, but at the same time, I would all continually from the very beginning I was teaching him things. You know, I would teach him certain things. I remember I would teach him things early on, and we wouldn't go back to it for 6 months.
Sure.
Because I knew this is going to take 2 to 3 years to mature enough to where you can use it. If we train it, we're going to choke. We're going to have no time to train the things specific for this fighter. But if we don't train this now and expose him to it, have him practice a little bit, burn it into his nervous system, you know, give him a little confidence in sparring to use it here and there, and develop that trait, attribute, technique, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Then in 2, 3, 5 years down the road, it's really something. But you have to have a hopper of that, not just, oh, I see one thing here, but rather than that's what I did, you know, just gradually, and then we'd go back to certain of those things. Absolutely. That were very pertinent to a fighter he was fighting, but we'd already been training it for 2 years, you know, and then put some work in earnest. Well, the reason I say that is because the other people are seeing your fighter at this point in time, and they have all the ideas in the world of what's going to make them better and how they can become, you know, champion, and you know, and all this other mess. You know, and I call it mess because, you know, it's like, you know, everybody has an opinion, but sometimes, you know, what fighters don't realize, of course, you know, or they turn a blind eye to is, you know, that factor of sort of vampirism, you know, that, you know, these people, they don't, it's not just they want to help you, but they want a peace. They want to, you know, they want to, you know, they need some more life's blood. And, you know, but on the other side, I've also had plenty of times with fighters where someone gets in their ear and they jump ship, and that other instructor, teacher, whatever, is just being kind. So I'm not against that instructor necessarily, Matt, like you're poaching my people, because usually it's not that instructor personally, that's someone else's, you know, or a group or fighters under that person, or, you know, but the fighter has to have enough loyalty to see, like, you know, they have that you know, they think you dance with the one who brung you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, you know, what I learned over there was, you know, there's regional coaches, there's state coaches, and then there's national, international coaches. And I've always stayed more on the amateur side. I've never taken anybody professionally. And before I let you into the ring, might be 9 months, 10 months down the road.
Absolutely.
A year down the road.
Absolutely.
I see boxers right here, they started this month, next week, they're already signed up and they're already fighting next month, and all of a sudden, oh, well, his nose broken, but he threw a good right.
Yeah.
You know? Or they win 4 of them, The kid's 17 years old. He's still novice in boxing. All of a sudden now he's fighting pro, and you're like,
Fighting open.
you know, and he hasn't even fought open in amateur boxing. Now he's fighting pro. I mean,
That's trouble.
That's big time trouble. You know,
In Texas.
Oh,
In Texas, you're
it's your ass. And I saw this. You know, I was here the first time back here in Laredo from Dallas, and we had a local kid that came in and was good. He not only was he natural, he had speed. He could hit hard. He was a bantamweight. We took him to the Golden Gloves. Wins the Golden Gloves. The next month, he stopped training at the school. Hey, where you at? I'll be over there. I ran into his mom. Oh, he's training, but he doesn't come over here. Where's he training at? So I knew he had already jumped ship.
Yeah.
His brother, a real luminary in society, took him to another coach. Well, they're already going to fight him. Pro.
Yeah.
The kid was 18 years old. He went pro, and guess what happened?
Got knocked out.
They got his ribs cracked. He got his nose busted. He got his bell rang. I mean, the coach and the manager, because it was one and the same, he got his $800 from the 4-round fight that he got paid, and he got paid. I remember the father brings back the kid over here. I'm not going to mention his name, and he tells me, "Can he go to the back to the Golden Gloves or go to USA Savate Nationals? He can no longer. He's a pro now. You just threw that out." But can you do something about it? You can't do anything about it. Your name's all over the place. Now you're a pro.
Yeah, I train a number of guys, like, I would never take pro, right? And they would jump ship and they go find somebody to take them pro. And that's cool, that's your life,
If you want to do that, please do that. I got guys here that come in here and they're in their 40s and they want to go fight in MMA pro, and I go, "Have you done martial arts before?" "No, but
I'm telling you.
I hit the bag in the garage," and I go, "No, buddy, it ain't gonna happen."
Yeah.
I could care less what you say.
I think back, like, when I was...
Become a judge, become a referee. Help the sport out if you really love it that much. It's...
One time we went on a family trip, and we going to visit my brother in California. It was the whole family drive. Took a road trip. We stopped in Las Vegas to visit my mom, stepdad's friend, and who worked on the casinos. And it was I think my son Max was probably 6 to 8 or somewhere 9, and it was just cool because I had this talk with him, and it was nice, because Vegas is pretty, when kids are that age, they don't understand how things work. Of course, hell, as adults, we don't know how things work. But I just remember I had this great conversation with my son. It was really nice. Basically, told him, "Hey, look, son, this all looks great. It looks really cool, but Vegas exists because people come and spend money, right? And the whole point of coming to Vegas is not to spend money, but to win it, right? So, obviously Vegas takes in a whole lot more money than it pays out, and that's called the odds. The odds are what they are, and it's engineered, it's understood in a certain way. The odds are what they are, but when you go, against the one-armed bandit or the crap table, whatever, it flies out the window, or whatever, or if you have a certain idea of the odds, that's the thing that helps you stop at a certain, I'm going to play till I'm out of $200 or whatever it is for you, and say, I don't mind, quote unquote, losing $200 in Vegas, because $200 to be great, entertained, drink is, well, that's worth it, right? So you understand the odds, you understand your position, in relation to those odds, and you make your decisions, but the odds are still the odds, right? So you don't go to Vegas like Rain Man, like you've got to win, like you've got to make money, because that's not the place to do it, right? You're guaranteed to lose almost, right?
Sure.
So then similarly, in fighting the odds, the odds are the odds. You can go train yourself, but the odds are, right? Yes, you can go and get a new teacher, get someone else to help you. However, the odds tell us, this is probably the path it's going to go down, right? It's just the odds. You see it enough,
Yeah.
That's what happens.
And
everybody thinks they're special.
No,
right?
no.
Everybody thinks they're the exception. And I did. Yeah, shit. Probably when I was 20, I was the same way.
But you learn. You wake up a lot earlier, if you want to put it that way. I hate to use the word woke, but what I'm trying to get at is that you need to understand that go with a person, go with a place. And these are to the guys out there listening to this that want to go out and want to go look for martial art, a fight game, or with Savate or Thai or boxing or MMA or what have you. Go to a place that's been established and has a good record. Look for the reviews. When you go into looking for a space, do not look at the professor or the coach or the trainer or the guru or whoever's there teaching. Look at the older students and how they're behaving and how they are moving, because remember, that's the way you're going to end up as.
For sure.
For sure. So if you're going to a ring that's they're going to a stable of fighters that they have every year, they go to the Golden Gloves and the high percentage comes back, that's where you want to be at. That's what you want.
It's just, the coaching, it's a tough life, and, I don't train. I mean, I've swore off training fighters multiple times in my career. And part of it, is it's pretty thankless and doesn't pay much. I mean, even if I have, let's say, and I go and, like right now, I don't own this gym, but I go and, help coach during the fights and get their fights ready. So I come into the gym, every several weeks and see how the guys are doing and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, when it's it's time to fight, I spend, if I put it in terms of hours, and again, I'm saying I'm loosely connected to them, and I will still during the fight, not even the training preparation, but when the fights happen, it's a sinkhole of 20, 30 hours of my time. I've got to usually travel. I've got to rent. I've got to, get a motel room. I've got to go to weigh-ins. I've got to wait around. I've got to, the fight, the fight event itself is a 12-hour long thing usually.
You're absolutely correct.
And you don't get paid.
And you don't get paid
anything.
And people come in here and they tell me here that locally, they say, but the boxing gym over there, the Laredo Boxing Club, they're for free. Or Webb County Pal, they're for free. Yeah, but the coaches have a stipend at the Webb County Pal. The coaches are great, magnificent guys, man. The Gomez brothers are doing a hell of a job. But they have a stipend from they're getting paid from the Webb County Sheriff's Department as employees. Yeah, they can. Everything's paid for free. When you go to a martial arts school, you got rent, overhead, everything else that's going on there. It's not free.
Yeah.
And people kind of get mad at you. Well, I'm sorry,
Yeah, similar.
You're paying to keep the doors open.
As I said, like the most fun I had as a coach, was coaching Tim, and it was fun. But again, I kept that whole idea of the odds and thing, in check in my own head, to. Because here at the, for UFC fight, it's, if you have a fighter on a televised card to UFC, like it was more of a 4 to 6 day ordeal, right? Because they have all these press things that happen previously, and so it's a really long week. And so, but for me, again, like going with Tim and all that, even though it's still work, it was still cool to be in a Las Vegas or a really nice venue and see all these big stars and everything. And so in a way for me, that I took that as payback. He paid me decent, he made a lot more money, but I'm telling you, even a Tim Kennedy, who, a top 10 person, still the money he made wasn't enough I wouldn't have it. That wouldn't be enough for me to support my family, much less a younger man who has all these, hopes and ideals and indebtedness probably or whatever.
No, you're correct.
Some people do make a decent chunk of change at one point, but that is it's 0.001. It's not they're 1%. They're not 1% there. I mean, you it's like they're 10,000th of a percentage point.
You know, folks, when you're going out, I'm telling you all this, there's a lot of great fighters, there's a lot of guys that have a lot of courage. They're courageous for going in there. We love you for doing that. But I'm going to tell you this. If you're a young guy, go to school, go get a vocation, go to tech school, go to vocation school, go to college. If you're going to find time to do that, end that together as in the same, okay, and take it from there. And all the fighters that I've trained, and I know that Coach here has trained as well. We love you guys. You guys keep on moving forward in life. Some of them have parted ways, but I know that a lot of them, every time we see each other, we give a big old hug because it's still there. But those guys that want to go out there and train and look for a school, there's commitment from your side, and as well as from the school, and also from the coaches training you. There's a lot of loyalty, like you say, and respect and discipline, and you're actually being taught a vocation. A lot of people do not understand that. People say, "What do you mean?" They come here and they go to school. I'm actually teaching you a vocation. I don't want you to go out there and the first punk kick your ass, because that's my name on the line, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to be that way. So I don't want anybody to ever get in an entanglement. But let me put it to you this way: if you're going to be training, you're going to train. You're going to be more than capable of doing something. The rest is up to you. But we'll leave you with that. And
well, I like to say this to close out on one point that which is kind of the flip side of what we were talking about, and that flip side is from the vantage point of the fighter, and that is just to tell you guys, right? Like, be encouraged, right? Like, and that's what it's also really good to have, or you really need with a coach or a mentor. Again, someone you trust. If somebody comes up to you, and says, you're really attractive, and then they try to sell you a used car, well, you kind of wonder about how truthful they were being, about the compliment. So you have to have someone you trust, and they're going to tell you when you suck, and you've got to be able to take that. But the good news is what I said. The flip side is, be encouraged, because if you lose, it's not the end of the world. That's what the coach is going to help you do, is going to help you overcome. That's what I'm saying. Well, what you ask, what's most important for a fighter, and that loyalty, because, the likelihood is most of the fighters I've seen not make it, most of them probably either could have made or done much better if they had just had that stable home life, if you will, right? And when I'm talking about their gym family and their training family and stuff like that, because it's okay to lose. It's you can go on. You can go from that. My
take it as a loss and learn from it.
And there are plenty. Yeah, if you. All I'm saying is, if you keep fighting, you can still be successful. Don't take those losses as, like some people feel like, I lost, I can't, whatever. It's like,
no.
Well, who gives it? I mean, there's nothing going to stop you from a world championship or getting ranked if you keep going, right? And because you're going to start winning. And if you keep losing, that's the thing that needs to tell you that, hey, maybe it's time, maybe this isn't the right career path for you. Again, we all can't be doctors or lawyers, and who the hell want to be? I want to be a doctor when I was younger. I look at now, man, I dodged a bullet. I would have hated to be a doctor. There's just not really me per se, career-wise. But then fighting, fighter has to find out that too. Like, is this really for me?
Listen, if you can't smile when you get hit and smile back at the guy because you're going to hit him harder, get out of the game.
Yeah, I mean
that's not for you.
It's really, actually, for fighting, it follows the thing of, same thing as like I say in ministry, like true full-time ministry. It's like they say, if you can do anything else in this world, do it, because this is a hard path.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you've got to love it. But you can't love it until you have to walk the path to figure it out often. Whether you love it,
I'm going to tell you when I literally stopped training fighters, okay? my oldest, which is now 25, she must have been about 9, 10, more or less. Okay, 9, 10. And I had rushed out because we had a fight that was coming up. And I had rushed from something that I was doing at the house. And I came to the gym, put everything aside, and came to the gym. And we had six guys working out, and nobody showed up. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? You know, so I called everybody, hey, I'm here, you know, we're gonna train, what's going on? Nobody answered, you know, text phone. That's a time that texting costs more than in your than everything else, remember? So I texted everybody and what's going on? Then the next day I come here and during time, and a couple of them start straggling in, and I go, hey, what happened yesterday? And they goes, well, so and so called us and said that for us not to come to class. And who the hell is he? You know, I'm the one that's teaching you guys. So when he walks in there, he says, oh, it's because I had something to do with my daughter. And I go, I had something to do with my family as well. And you know what I'm saying? You don't stop the training because of that. You make that, you know what? Sayonara. Continue going, because I'm going to take my daughter to go to movies. And I remember I told him, see ya. Are you going to go? No, the fight's canceled. I'm out. You guys go do whatever the hell you want. Don't come back again. And I walked out because of that. And then I realized that I had given my time with my daughter spending with these people that didn't care. And I was like,
for sure. Yeah.
And I said to myself, you know what? Forget it. Now I'm going to spend time with my kids more than everything else.
Yeah.
And so it's taken a while. You know, now my kids are older. And it kind of brings you back. I gave my rings away to the sheriff, which they're doing an excellent job with the boxing program. Hey, I'm proud of that. So, you know.
Is that like the PAL? Do they still have that?
Yeah.
Is that
the PAL? Yeah, it's still
okay.
the PAL still up.
Cool.
So, folks, I'm going to leave you with this. Fighting, the fight game training, martial arts, and so forth. It takes time. It takes commitment. It takes discipline. It takes loyalty. If you find a place that cares for you guys to learn, give back to them. There's a lot of gyms out there. Remember that. There's one in every corner. And not everybody that's out there teaching martial arts can fight. Not everybody out there can teach. Not every style is for that. But if you choose to look for one that's for fighting, do your research. Look. And then go in there. But
I think
you
said, I'm sorry to keep going, but you said something I think you touched on something that's really, I consider, you know, like a truism, and that is, you know, like if you find a place that looks good, like if you really, you know, if you really want to be successful, honestly successful, then you have to develop a servant's heart. So go wherever you think that it lands, then find the way to serve others, and it's going to. That is your best path to something working out, because the only other path usually, especially as a fighter, is to turn inward on what you need, right? And that is endless, right? Like it's bottomless. But when you learn to serve others, like your fellow team members, the gym, the staff, you know, whether that's cleaning up or picking up someone who doesn't have a ride, or taking someone home that doesn't have a ride,
absolutely,
or whatever it is, like serving. That is the way. That is the key to longevity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll leave you with those words. Like, once again, you all stay safe, be well, and God bless you.